Is that running?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, let's go. Hi, I'm Gabriel.
And I'm Adam.
Last year we competed on the team Genetic Drift in OGPC. We won the People's Choice Award with our game Empyrean. And this year we're both in college. I'm in mechanical engineering.
I'm in computer science.
And we're going to make a game for you as an example. So you can follow along and see the kinds of methods that we use. We'll have a few different kinds of videos that we'll post every week.
So to go over the different videos we'll be putting out, some of them will be like this. We'll just be casually talking on a couch. We'll be talking about more general stuff, like for example, maybe progress we made on the game. And then other videos will be more specific. So for example, Gabe's a programmer, so we might show his screen and he'll show you some tools that he uses, or I make a lot of the visual assets. So another week I might show you how to use Blender or something like that.
So we hope to teach you some new stuff about project management and game development. And we're going to start this video by talking about the theme.
Yeah.
And how to go from just a theme to some ideas for which direction you're going to take your game development over the next few months. So let's get started.
Yeah, so the theme this year is space race. And traditionally you can kind of think about that like originally there was the space race between a lot of different countries like the US and Russia, and they were trying to get the first man in orbit or the first man on the moon. Or you can think about it in a couple different ways.
Yeah, you could take it at face value, like just literally a race in space, but that's not very original. So, yeah, let's not do that. The fun part here is that the theme is really broad, so it could just be, even if you go with two countries competing to get to space, there's still a lot of ways that you could turn that into a game. So, even with a few settings and a few gameplay styles to choose between, there's still a lot of games that fit under that umbrella. So because of all those decisions, it should take you a while to come up with the game that you're going to try to make. With last year we took a few weeks probably to really feel final on the game, and we tweaked our vision as it went on. More on that in a later video. But it's important to spend a while to really like the game that you're going to make. So because of that, in the interest of time, we're not going to go through the hours and hours of discussion and storyboarding and all of that. So we're just going to show you a few of the tools that you could use. So here we go.
Yep.
So here there's a table of some settings that we picked out and some genres or gameplay styles that we picked out as well. And you can see the first two rows are filled out, and we'll talk about the last row as we fill it out. So this cell here is would be a game that takes place on a planet. It doesn't have to be Earth. And it's a development race kind of game. So this is sort of mirroring history. So starting on a planet could look like Kerbal Space Program, for example, and that's kind of proven to be a good game. So I think that's a good idea. So we'll mark that green.
We could do that.
Yeah. So then we'll look at the next one. What about the same thing starting in orbit? That, I don't know. It doesn't fit together nearly as well.
Yeah, it's kind of an awkward pairing.
Yeah, so we'll just cut that out right away. And what about in deep space? What would that even look like? I think it could be kind of like a civilization game, maybe, that sort of thing, taking place on a space station or a colony ship. It doesn't sound very original, though. It just feels kind of like
it's been done a lot of times.
It feels like a game that is moved into space.
Yeah.
It feels too like slapped on, and we want it to really feel integrated with the space theme. So I think that's going to be red. So here we have a few green ideas and a lot of red ideas.
And to be clear, you guys can... So we have genres here, kind of, and we have settings, and you guys can pick your own. We're not trying to, say that this is the type of stuff you guys should do.
Yeah.
You can You can pick your own types.
And it doesn't even have to be genres and settings for your two things that you make a grid out of. You don't even have to make a grid. This is just one way that you could compare ideas. So another way that you can compare more final ideas is something called the weighted objective table, which I've made one up here in the spreadsheet. Weighted objective tables are used for making decisions that aren't supposed to be subjective, things that you can put numbers to. So it can work for game development. It's not a perfect match, but if your team is a lot of logic-minded people, it could work very well to use this sort of a mechanical approach to choosing your game. So it might be better to, you know, write all the ideas on sticky notes and put them on a wall and, you know, move them around as you order how much you like them. That sort of an approach could work as well. But we're going to use a weighted objective table because it's less common and we want to teach you something new. So in a weighted objective table, you have objectives, which are things that you are rating your ideas on. You have weights, which are how important your objectives are. And you have the things that you're rating, which are, in this case, our 3 game ideas. So the objective of a balanced load is supposed to mean like, will all the people on your team be working around the same amount?
Yeah, like for example, if you have a game that's like super procedural, that'll be a lot of work for the programmer, but for someone like me who makes visual assets, if it's like all procedurally done, like terrain, I'm not going to be making much stuff. So it's not a very balanced load. So ideally you'd have a game that has a nice balance between, like maybe if it doesn't quite match up, you can like kind of overlap a bit, but you want something kind of balanced between your partners.
Yeah, and for the two of us, I can pick up art skills if I need to, and he can pick up programming skills or level design skills if he needs to. So being a balanced load is important, but it's not that important. So we gave it a 6 out of 10. So what that means then is that each of these games, so Planet Dev has a 3 for balanced load. That's a load number. That means it's not a very balanced load. So in order to get that portion of the Planet Dev score, you do 6 times 3 and add it to the total. So the Planet Dev total is 9 times 10 plus 8 times 9 plus 6 times 3, all the way down the line, and the end is 298. And you can look at these scores at the end to sort of get an idea of how good these games look based on the weight that you have given the objectives. So for example, Explore Space has a pretty low score for theme, but it does well enough in the other categories that it ends up actually on top. So the hope is that if you have good weights and you have good scores, then your totals will be representative of how good these games will actually be. So we're not necessarily going to choose that game. We're going to put a lot of work into making something that would lend itself well to being an example. So we're going to use our own methods that we might sort of summarize later. But they're going to be pretty time consuming, so we're not going to put all that on video. Our next videos will be about concepting and getting a clear idea of the game that you want once you've chosen a game. So
I'll be going through some of that with you guys next week. So
we'll see you next week.
Yep. Bye.